Well, we have a wonderful lineup today. Two very iconic individuals, and they happen to be married, and they're great artists and entertainers. I can tell you this: I've gone to their Christmas show 5 years in a row, and I saw their granddaughter grow up.
Of the ABC show Black Las Vegas that you were a part of, and many entertainers historically, Sammy and all of those.
Yeah.
And it was really uh, not just enlightening, but it was very powerful in terms of how it impacted those of us who grew up in this era that didn't get that education
Yeah.
and understand the history of how entertainment for blacks was going all the way back to, you know, the Moulin Rouge and all the rest of it. So it was really powerful. And
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed it.
It was something that both of us really felt strongly about doing. When I was invited to be on the show, I mentioned this last night. I thought of all the entertainers like Sonny Charles and Bubba Knight, and who had been here long before I was, right? And I almost felt a little bit guilty. I'm like, well, why aren't they on? Of course, George Wallace was, and others. But then I realized that I kind of came into a time that things were really changing. Things, you know, were they were calling them residencies now on the Strip, right? Residency meaning you were there 6 nights a week or whatever it was, 40 weeks a year. You wanted to go see Clint Holmes, you knew he was there. You wanted to go see Danny Gans, you knew he was there, right? So I was one of the first African American entertainers who got that opportunity, right? And so that's why I think they invited me to do the show. And it was really an honor to be on the show. And then we talked about how to extend that.
Yeah, well, we couldn't make the announcement fast enough for everyone to catch the special. So sharing that with the team at the Sterling Club, because I'm the entertainment director over there again now, and they were like, well, let's do it here. So we wanted to do it during Black History Month, and we only had 1 week, or actually it was about 6 days, and we got the word out, and so many people, including yourselves, showed up last night, and it was a big turnout, and there was as you know, there was a great discussion and question and answer, and some extra performance because Clint was going to sing and
Right.
a song that he wrote years ago about part of his own life story, and it's called "Put Me on Your Shoulders," and it's paying homage to many of these entertainers that
Wow.
were before you, and you did know some of them. You do know some of them, and then Sonny, Bubba, who else?
Oba.
Baba,
And then Tony Tillman.
Tony Tillman.
You know,
Oh, it was magic.
you know, I thought, well, the first people I invited, we called Bubba, Oba actually, and Sonny. I said, you know, here's what we're doing if you want to come by, and they all went,
They were like
absolutely, we'll be there.
there.
And then I said, I might ask you to say something because you guys have such a history, and I know those guys. Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like, oh, we might. Give me the mic. Yeah, right. And so that was, I thought, a really great part of the evening. That they were telling their stories,
Right.
which go back further than my stories about Vegas. Right. Somebody wrote on Facebook today. Amy Ayub wrote. It was joyful and painful at the same time. Watching the history and hearing it, it was joyful to be in that room with these people, but it was painful to think about where this all came from. You know.
Amy Ayub has lived in this town probably.
She grew up here.
Yeah, grew up here because I knew her from UNLV, and so I know that was probably touching to her. I want to ask you this question: Can you first? I'm going to ask your beautiful wife. Can you remember the first time you took a stage here in Las Vegas, and how was that compared to how it is now?
Well, we spoke about how I know your brother was a high school coach at my high school, and we had opportunities then. I'm so grateful for the school system and the arts. That's why I can't imagine arts not being in the schools offered, because it changed my life, and I'm sure it changed your life where you grew up, music. So I had a teacher who put us on stage in Vegas before we were ready. So we got to learn, right? At the 17, 16 years old. After high school, I went to the Maxim Hotel, which is no longer here, and Frank Link. I don't know if you remember him because you were here. He had a Sunday night showcase at the Maxim. So that's where I started getting stage time and learning. And I caught that time where it was Wayne Newton in the main showrooms and all of these headliners. I saw Sammy Davis Jr., I saw Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. So I did come, I was just at the end of all that wonderful showroom experience. And then as I was in the business, in the lounges and some showrooms, is when it changed a lot. And they started to eliminate some of the showrooms.
They went to canned music instead of orchestras.
Yeah.
I used to love that. Can you remember the very first time you performed here in Vegas? And
I think I came here with three people: Don Rickles, Joan Rivers, and Bill Cosby. They and I can't honestly remember which was first, right? But to open for them. But I kind of have a great story about Bill. Caesar's Palace, 80s, right? He was Dr. Huxtable, selling out everywhere, right? And I'm opening for him. And it was one of my first times here because nobody knew me here, right? And so I was a headliner in Atlantic City, in other places, but not here. So opening day, I'm out there rehearsing by 20 minutes because that's what they told me, right? And Bill walks out and he says, "How long you doing?" I said, 20 minutes. And he said, "How long would you like to do?" I said, "Well, I'd love it if I could do 40 because then I could really." He said, "How long do you do in Atlantic City?" I said, "Well, I'm a co-headliner. I do 50 minutes." And he says, 50 minutes. And he told the stage manager, "Mr. Holmes will be doing 50 minutes. So I rehearsed my whole show. Opening night at Caesar's Palace, right? And I come out and I do it, and we get a big response. And Bill comes out and he says, "So which song did you like the best?" And they yell Rio at the time. And he says, "Do it again." And he goes and plays bongo drums while I do it again. And he said, "Did you sing a love song?" "Oh, yes." And he said, "Did you sing one to her?" No. So now I'm an hour. I'm out there for an hour, right? Bill does his set. And now, since it's opening night, the president of Caesars was there. My agent from William Morris was all these. So everybody's backstage to tell Bill how great the show was. And Bill says, "Come out." And he says to them, he said, "This is Mr. Holmes." "Oh, you were wonderful, wonderful." He says, asks me, "How much are you making this week?" And I told him how much I was making. And he looks at the agent and he says, "Double it. Take it out of mine and take his stuff out of the opening act dressing room and put it into my dressing room, put my stuff in there." And I'm standing there like, what just happened, right? So, yes, sir. Next night I come in, I say, "Bill," I said, "why did you do that?" And he said, "Because sometimes you have to make people pay attention." And that was his way of saying, pay attention to this guy. And we all know the unfortunate stuff that's happened in Bill's life, and self-caused, unfortunately. But he was a huge reason that I got to ever play Vegas in a meaningful way, back then. And he was also the person who told Steve Wynn about me. And Steve Wynn is the one who brought me out here in what is now my life. In 1999, Steve Wynn brought me out here, and that turned into, now I've been here for 20-something years, So I remember that was probably the first really meaningful time. I think I'd been out opening maybe for Joan a couple of times, but yeah, that changed my life, literally.
When you talk about the evolution of this town, you go back to the Rat Pack. Remember that? They're the ones that really positioned Las Vegas as the entertainment capital of the world. And then you start evolving, having those showrooms and the orchestras and all of that stuff. That when I say stuff, I mean it was glamorous, and the people would dress.
Yes,
that's right.
Dress to the nines to come and see.
No flip flops.
No flip flops. Forget about it. That's Vegas for you.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say is the biggest change? We mentioned the canned music that really kind of broke a lot of vintage Vegas hearts. to not be able to see the orchestra, the strings and the percussions and the entertainer, it was just really a wonderful time. What are the things that have changed that you would say, if we had that back again, we'll still have an audience for it?
I would say, and we went through this together. All of those shows you're talking about, it was talent and opportunity, and then the hotels would book a celebrity or an entertainer or an up and coming at the time to be in a showroom and pay you. Now it turned, I don't know how many years ago, it changed to where you're four walling and two walling, which I can't explain fully, but it's where
that you're paying
you're paid.
basically to be
So,
there.
so it's very hard to get anything going and have it. Talk about residencies. You're have all the skin in the game too.
Mhm.
So it's very hard for shows and entertainers to maintain a residency and excel and survive.
Right.
That's why there's so many shows that close, because it's all about money and paying to be there instead of being paid to be there.
To be, what I was thinking about what you said. Don Rickles, Joan Rivers, Bill, they're comedians. They had orchestras.
They have.
That's right.
They weren't singers, but they had orchestras. They had live orchestras that would play them on, and Rickles had a couple of silly songs he did in there, and Joan would play with the band, Cosby would play. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't just the big singer headlines that had orchestras. It was everybody.
Variety.
You had a band, you had an orchestra. Thinking about that, God, that was, and you're
Magical.
right, it was glamorous.
Beautiful.
It was just something great, and they tell me that Sammy would come out, and George Rhodes was his conductor,
Right.
and Sammy would have like the first 2 or 3 songs planned, and then he would feel what they ought, and he'd turn to George, I want to do blah blah blah, and then bam, like and do it. So you sit out there and you go, oh, this is my show. This isn't necessarily a show that people saw last night or they're going to see tomorrow night. This is, and you can't do that when the music is canned, when everybody's dancing or playing to a track. It is going to be exactly what everybody else saw. And so part of the magic those days, I think, was what we call the in-one performer. The Sammys, the Sinatras, the Belafontes, the Dean Martins, the Lena Horne, the people, they were in one, and that whatever night you were there was that magical night that you were there.
Let's identify what you just said, Kelly. That and what you're saying, Clint, is that evolution from going from when the boys had it to corporations.
Yeah.
Corporations are the ones that made every department have to make $1, have to make money.
Every space in the building.
Every space, and it in some ways, they made more money, but it really hurt Las Vegas, especially with entertainment.
Well,
Especially.
I was going to say this. My best friend in life is Lena Prima, and her dad was Louis Prima. And so this town, as we know, was built on entertainment. It wasn't built on how much the entertainment made profit, because everyone came in and Louis Prima acts like that. Everyone would come in after their shows and jump on his stage. But it was to get everybody having a good time, and then they drank and they ate and they made reservations and they gambled because they were having such a good time. So I
call it lost leaders. Yeah,
It
lost
wasn't
leaders.
about that, because that led to the entertainment and the fun party, led to everything else opening up.
You're almost, I don't want to say shy, but I can tell in you how emotional you get when you just even talk about that history.
Yeah.
And how appreciative you are of where you are compared to those guys that opened the door.
Well, here's the thing. I mentioned this last night. I grew up in a town of literally 450 people. Yeah, upstate New York. We were the only family of color in the town. We had a little bitty black and white TV set, right? We didn't have a bathroom in the house. We had an outhouse. We had to walk to it.
Yeah.
In Buffalo, so there were nights when you didn't want to walk to it, right? But every Sunday night, Ed Sullivan's show was on. And we would know the week before when Sammy or Nat, Belafonte, Lena, was on. It was an event. It was an event. So when I think of like the first time I saw any of those performers, it wasn't like, oh, wow, look, he's really good. It was like the whole week was leading up to
Yeah.
this night to see that person. And even if I didn't understand the cultural importance of it, it was important. And for my dad, it was always a black entertainer. It was always, hey, Billy Daniels is on. Hey, this one's on, right? So somewhere inside of me, all that time, it was a different level of importance to see. Then as I got old enough to appreciate what those artists were going through in a real sense, not only in Vegas, but I would read Sammy's biography, and read about the way he and his uncle and dad had to travel, and what they couldn't do, and what they told Sammy as a young person to get him through it. No, it's not about your race, it's about they don't like entertainers. And all that stuff, it just becomes so powerful. What a few years ago I was performing in New York, and Harry Belafonte came to the show, like another one of my heroes, and we started talking about Vegas, and I said to him, I said, one of these days I'd like to do a show of your music honoring you. And he said, you can't do a show about my music only. You have to do a show about my life, because my life is more important than my music. Okay, and I know exactly what he was talking about. Yeah, you can go sing Deo. Everybody else go Deo, right? He said, but where did that come from? Culturally. So I as I grew into this business and got to know Sammy, got to know Belafonte, got to know Cosby, I got to understand how deep those roots were and how important what those artists did, and how that made it possible. Literally made it possible for me and many others to walk out on a stage. So yeah, I get emotional about that because it goes way beyond how great they were as entertainers. It goes to how important they were as human beings and the stance that they had to take.
I couldn't wait to go. I was like a kid.
That's
I could
funny.
not wait to
That's
go
funny.
to your show.
They gave me the dates last night for Christmas
last
this year, 2nd and 3rd of December. Right.
You'll see us.
Well, so here's the deal. Here's what I have learned about that. And this was, I have a very great teacher named Larry Moss. He's an acting director, but he's become a mentor and a close friend. He told me, he said, if you watch the great entertainers, the Sinatras, the Sammys, he said, there's a certain kind of appreciation of the audience. He said, the minute that you bow after every song, the connection stops. He said, so he used to say to me, he said, try accepting it. Just try accepting it. Looking at them and accepting the fact that connection was made, as opposed to right away bow.
Yes.
Because right away bow, it's like, he's bowing and it's over. If you stand there sometimes and take it,
Yes.
and let the audience know that you really are taking in their appreciation, it's a different thing. So I think that's something that I've learned to do.
Yeah.
I've seen one of those gestures, whether you're aware of it or not. You probably are, and I know you probably. I've seen you do like this a lot. You touch your heart when the people. You don't bow. You just and you smile.
And
And that
it's
body
like
language says a lot.
I get that you got it.
Yes.
And that makes me
Yes.
connected to you. There's artists, Kelly and I talk about this all the time. They'll sing a song, and the song will end, and they'll go, thank you. And I go, whoa. Take it over the take. No, don't go. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, thank you, but take it first.
Yeah.
I do a lot of where I was doing an open mic and having so many guests, and over probably the last 20 years. Now I do something called the sit-in or Kelly Clinton and Friends. So I have guest artists, and I'm in my crazy comedy mode when I'm hosting, so I don't wait and go, hey, listen, let me talk to you. I just go, wait a minute, get back here. Because they do, they go, thank you. And they start to walk away. I go, no.
Oh, yeah.
You're missing. Look
Yeah.
what's happening right here. So
Yeah.
we learned a lot from
Harold was telling me, and I did not know this about you, Kelly, that some of the people that you really had a lot of respect for or adulation for was
Wayne Newton, Sheena Easton,
The comedy people.
Oh yeah,
Tell me.
Carol
Burnett.
Carol Burnett.
Yeah.
Lucille Ball.
Yes,
Yes.
those are my heroes. That
Yeah.
when you were watching those shows and watching those artists, I was climbing in the television when I saw Carol Burnett show
Yeah.
for the first time, and she had such and Lucy too. So I've always done a combination of acting, singing, and comedy, and I'm very comfortable there. I'm a singer. I made a living as a singer all these years, but always with either some impressions or some original characters. And the more I'll see some clips from over the past few years, I'll go, oh boy, I really was influenced by those heroes, and I love it. And so where Clint, I try to go deep in the songs when I'm doing songs, but I spend a lot of that time with the characters. Like I go and he'll say, well, why don't you have Jojo Spaghetti Moretti, my Italian trumpet player from the days of the orchestra? I turn into him fully. And he says, well, what if he said, I go, no, Jojo wouldn't say that. No, he doesn't have that kind of background. I mean, I go way in there. And that is my heart. So his characters and some originals like Or Mom, people like that. Should I give him a little JoJo?
Yeah. Sure.
So
You
just
do a
sit
great
here.
Wayne Newton.
Oh, I'll do Wayne Hood since we have that in common. So Wayne was a big mentor of mine. That was, you talk about when you first hit, that was the first big stage I was ever on. And I met him that evening as through my teacher that I mentioned from high school, and your brother was a coach, and they're like, oh, yeah. And Wayne said, well, I didn't know you at all. That's absolutely a pleasure. And then I was like, oh my gosh, my God, and the magic. And I said, I feel like I'm going to be on stage with them, but why would I'm not going to, Sure enough, that night later, we went across the street to Bourbon Street at the time. And the band that was on stage was a band I just met the night before, and they saw me do my Elvis thing. So I go, oh my God. And I was like halfway running out the door with fear. I thought, I am going to sing. That's where I got that. And they asked me to come up, and they were like, do you know any Madonna? This is how long ago it was.
Now, is Wayne in the audience?
Wayne's in the audience. So we all went,
Yeah.
your brother, Emo, everybody, Bear. And they said, hey, Kelly, want to come up? And I was halfway out the door. I go, sure. Terrified. They didn't know any of the songs. They said, why don't you do that Elvis thing you did? And I did my Elvis thing, which is kind of a combination of singing, comedy, dancing. And I came off the stage and Wayne said, if I had known that you could do that, I would have absolutely had you on my stage. And then he did have me in a show as this Elvis tribute he did, and I did an acting. It was the most exciting time. At that, I was like 22 years old. And then I worked with him later. But that magic of being on that stage, and he had a 35-piece orchestra.
Yeah.
So all that we're speaking about, I caught that part before it changed, and was so excited and thrilled, and met Lola Flan and all these wonderful people. Yeah. So yeah, to have someone believe in you that, I wasn't Whitney Houston or a singer like that, but he saw the entertainer, and he made me feel like we had something.
As entertainers, do you feel, the word I want to say is a responsibility to continue to up your game, to continue to take that torch that was given to you, the person that really spoke in your behalf, that took you to another level, whether it was Mr. Cosby or whomever, do you feel a responsibility to continue to do better and better and better? And it doesn't matter how old you get, it's in you.
Oh, absolutely. You want to speak to that? I mean, I was talking.
I want to hear both of you speak.
Yeah, you go first because I just talked a lot. I want to give you guys a break.
Well, I had breakfast with our friend Antonio Fargas today. And we were talking about where we are in our lives and what's next, right? And one of the things I said, for me, it's a continuation. I have stuff I want to do. I have things that I have not done yet that I want to do, and I've done a lot of things, right? So I'm always going forward. My responsibility, I always feel, I have a couple. My responsibility is absolutely to the mentors, whether they were people that I actually really knew, like Sammy a bit, Cosby a lot, Joan Rivers a lot, people that okay, influenced me, or the people that I just saw and understood what they were. So my responsibility is, as Sammy said, every night you go out on stage, you give them everything you have that night, right? And my other responsibility is to the song I sing, to the writer, whoever wrote the song. Somebody said to me one night, you give 100%, you sing that song, tonight there weren't that many people there. And I go, yeah, but the song was there. So what am I supposed to do? Not sing the song well because there's,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
And those people are there.
And those people are there, right? So my responsibility is to the writers of the song. So if I choose to sing the song, I have to give the song its due, right? Or why sing it, right? And to the entertainers that I admire, that taught me whether they knew it or not, yeah. So those two things I think about, all the time. I always say this. I say it often that Sammy is in particular. It's funny how last night, how much did everybody talk about Sammy?
Yeah.
And not just me, Oba Babatunde, Sonny Charles, Bubba, because he was such an incredible influence on all of us who do this, So yeah, I do feel that responsibility to those artists and to the people who write the song I'm going to sing.
Were you aware, again, of the way, because we talked about opportunities,
Mhm.
and your daughter said about being easy.
Yeah. Wasn't that an interesting question?
Well, but I understood it.
Yeah, I know you did.
Even in corporate world, we were easy, less intimidating.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was going to bring up the question, but there was great questions out there. But you also had the other side of it, where you had an opportunity, and those that were dark who didn't get it,
Sure.
there was a jealousy there too.
Yeah.
Okay. But you had the responsibility, and I don't know if the weight hit you, you had to be good, or that door wasn't going to open again.
Not only wasn't going to open again, but the responsibility to be good. That my daughter asked that question.
Yes.
Yeah, because she knows our family history with that. What I basically said and what I really believe is, if I'm given the opportunity for whatever reason, right, my job is to go out there and prove that I'm worthy of the opportunity. That's the key to it. Any of us who are given an opportunity, it's not about color, it's not about anything. It's like, be grateful and go out there and show that you're worthy of the opportunity. I can't be responsible for everybody's. I mean, there have been. I remember a long time ago. Do you remember an artist named Fred Travalena, an entertainer named Fred Travalena? He was an impressionist,
Yes.
right? And I met Freddie many, many years ago, and we became really close friends. And we were both in exactly the same position in our career. He was getting a little thing here, and I was getting a little thing here. He lived in L.A. I lived at the time on the East Coast. And one night he calls me up. He says, "Guess what happened?" I said, "What?" He said, "I'm going to Vegas." I go, "Oh, great. What are you doing?" He said, "I'm opening for Shirley MacLaine." I went, "Oh, that's great." And my mind's going, why isn't that me? Right. And so I was truly happy for my friend. And when I hung up the phone, I was also going, okay, I want to do that, right? So that's a thing within us.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he made the most of that opportunity.
Well, when you get those opportunities
Uh-huh.
in both of your careers, when you get those opportunities and they seem like they come out of left field, like what Cosby did to you.
Yeah.
It's almost like magic that it's a part of your journey.
Absolutely.
That this is gonna happen. You just gotta be patient
And prepare.
and prepare. Oh,
Yes.
I love that. I
The
love
preparation
that.
means that opportunity.
Yes.
If
Right.
you hadn't been prepared to go up there and do those.
That's right. Even if you thought you weren't.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, but something in me, the desire and that, when you're a kid and this is what you want to do, something has a connection and it creates energy. And there's blessings and there's magic.
That's right.
And I'm just recently revisiting all this because, you go through ups and downs and you forget some of that innocent magic and the dreams. And that, now I'm going to say a million things at once, but that part we have to hold on to no matter how old you get. And I'm older, my husband's older. I'm watching this person just get better and better and better, and surprising of the different things he handles, whether he's going up to say a few words. You just go, how did you just say that so eloquently without planning it out? It's just, instinct. But also the magic I was talking about, opportunities, paying it forward. continuing to mentor other people or give them opportunities. That's why I love being at the Sterling Club again after all these years, because I help people get work, musicians, singers, or young artists that don't have that showcase or place to, and that feels great. And also trying to tell some younger people, some not younger, about fear, because I have it, we all have it, and it can stop you, but you just got to push past it and do what it is you want to do.
Well, what you're saying is, you both of you are saying that you were embraced by
Yes.
some people that made a difference in your life. Now you feel, when you see someone out there, if you see someone that's in fear, stage fright or anything, you may go and say something to them and say, you know, thinking about that opportunity that you was almost out the door when they said, Kelly, come up here. Now you could have went out that door, but you had to go back.
I would have regretted that, and I knew it too. I said, "Oh, you're gonna," but I was like frozen in fear, going, "Oh no, I can't do that. I don't sit in." Now I have a show called The Sit In, and everybody else sits in, but that I would have missed out on so many years of working with Wayne Newton, having all those opportunities, and I also like to tell people, don't judge yourself. We all know this. What you think is better than you, or that you're not that, because I wasn't any of it. I was something else and didn't know until I had a lot of important, special friends and mentors in my life to say, no, that's what's great about you, is you're this combination of this. You're not this and that and the other, and you don't sing circles around, but we like the way you sound, or we like your humor or your hosting. So everybody's gifts are different.
I think the audience, I can just say this in retrospect, when you go and see your shows, we see your heart, man. The audience, whether you know it or not, we see your heart. That's why I keep coming back to this about Christmas. You know, Christmas was, as a kid, was one of my favorite times of the year.
Sure.
And you grow up and you get into business and you forget, and you still want to have that anticipation for Christmas, where every time that I would come to your show, it took me back, and those expectations were met, and that's why we kept coming every time. And then we tell other people, come to this show. You have to. We took the last show we went to, we had our 92-year-old mother-in-law, and she loved it, and it's. Well, we might have to erase this. It's kind of hard to get her out of the house, right? And we might have to take this out.
You have to answer.
We might have to edit this part. But she loved it. And from your show, we were able to take her, hey, did you enjoy? Yeah. Go to this other show with her.
You mentioned my granddaughter who sang for or how many years?
We saw her for 5 years in a row.
She was a little girl. I said, come on and see her. And then the next year it was like, can I have 2 songs? And the third year is, can I have a dressing room? So
can I
choreograph a little dance? And she would, but here's what she also did for me. She would say, Grandpa, you need to listen to this artist. And it would be a contemporary artist. Right? You need to listen to Billie Eilish and Billie Eilish's brother and Frank Ocean and stuff. And I said, oh, okay, so there are some young writers who are writing intelligent, interesting stuff. Some of it ahead of their... You go, how the heck, you're 22, how do you know that, right? Yeah. And so I kind of take pride in finding those little gems and putting them in the show, knowing that probably nobody or 2 or 3 people have ever heard it before. But if you put it in the right setting, and if you set it up right, in connection to something they do know, they get it. I'll tell you a quick story. There's a guy in our neighborhood, we only know people who walk their dogs because we know them. So there's a common area where people, so there was a guy who we'd see walking his dog, and hey, how you doing? That's it. For years. Last year, after the Christmas show, I'm walking my dog and he's walking his dog and he said, I have to tell you something. And I said, what? He says, I was at your show last night or the night before. I said, oh, great. And he says, you sang a song by somebody named Phineas. And I said, Phineas is Billie Eilish's brother. And the song is called Only a Lifetime. And he said, I connected with that song. He said, I never heard it before. I never heard of Phineas. He said, but the song basically says, you only get a lifetime. So what's important? What's important to you? You know, is it the money? Is it family? Is it the things you didn't do? The things you did do? What's important? That's what the song's about. And he said, so I'm listening to this song and I realized that I hadn't talked to my brother in many years.
Yep.
And I was wasting that. We're both getting older and blah, blah, blah. So I called him. I said, and we reconnected because of that song.
Yeah.
Now, he happens to live in the neighborhood. I happened to run into him. That hopefully would have happened whether he knew me or anything. So we don't know.
Yes.
We don't know how people walk out of
That's right.
that show, what they
That's
felt,
right.
what they thought, or how it affected them. You know, so I love finding those songs that affect me. They affect me, so I'm figuring they'll affect
And
you
like
too.
Clint says, he's taught me this a lot. It's all in the setup. You could do songs and they just go right past everyone. But if you connect it to a story,
Especially new
or
songs.
how it moved you, or what, the setup, and this person and their this brother and their and he's the guy behind the music for Billie Eilish in the beginning. So, but really he's behind the scenes. But we listen to his stuff. He is really an artist, and
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
To that point, what
Yeah.
you just said, and you got 40 years, career. That would seem to me to be one of those moments. Someone said, there are two important dates: the day we're born, the day we die, and the day we found out why.
Mm.
And that was a why moment.
Mm-hmm.
Why you were given the talent to do what you do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you don't know how many whys left one of your shows.
yeah.
That's
and
right.
took that.
That's right. And that's why it's important to honor the audience and to honor the songs, because you don't know. You've had stuff like that happen to you
I've
too.
had a lot of those things with the humor often, or the feeling, or and they say you don't, and sometimes it's years later, and you think, oh, I'm not sure what I'm doing matters. I know I'm enjoying it, and I know I love the people I work with, but it's that audience thing. That's why the town is built on this. It's the connection that happens, and you will never, you'll know sometimes how it affected people, and other times you won't. You just have to know it matters what you're doing up there, and that you give it everything.
Everything you got.
Speaking of matters, we've had some macro changes to happen here in Las Vegas. One October 1st, when
Of course.
the shooting happened,
Right.
and then coronavirus. Closing down the strip, closing down the voices that make us happy, the entertainment. I want to ask you, since coronavirus,
Mm-hmm.
what have you noticed about your audiences? I know it's got to be a little different than before coronavirus.
It certainly was when we first came back.
Okay.
I think now we've settled in, but you and I had a similar experience. The first show we did after, like when you could finally go do a show. I'll tell you. Remember what I'm talking about for you. I remember it very well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, I many people got sick. I got very sick, and we really went through it. And it was almost first shutdown is one thing. Will we ever get to be artists again? We kind of take it for granted that times will be slow sometimes, but not off the table.
Yeah.
So that was scary for everyone in every career. But for artists, it was like the first thing or the last thing that was going to come back, because it was extra. But then to be sick on top of that and wonder if you're coming back to anything. So for me, you're talking about my first show back. Yeah. I could breathe for a long time. I had the pneumonia and everything, and almost checked out. So my first time back, it was a bigger show, like a 300-seat theater, Starbright, I believe, and it was like I walked out not knowing if I was going to be able to do it, and got smacked in the face with love and appreciation, because it was one of their first shows back.
That's
too,
right.
And then also they probably knew I wasn't well for a while, and it was like being a kid again, and saying, I love this. And and it was a mutual exchange, and I had one of the best shows I ever had.
I would think that the
it was-
audience,
yeah.
because of who you are, and in retrospect to before this thing interrupted life, that we miss those voices. We miss that the people that would raise us up and answer those why questions, you know?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to know, do you notice in your audience that they really, really care about you
Yes.
more than you ever saw before?
At first. Now it's back into a
Back to
pattern of,
normal?
Now they hate us.
But
No,
no.
No, but yeah, that definitely happened. The first few shows back, you could tell that they were just as happy that they were back as we were we were back. And
We're
it was
the diversion.
I had the same thing. I walked out on stage and literally couldn't sing the first song for a minute, because you just
It was like
you know, it's magical. I wanted to say one story about the why. That was so specific. Back in the 70s, I had a record. My name is Michael. I got a nickel. Yeah, right. It's a big hit. And they had little music boxes they made, and they turn them, and they ding, 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 right. This was in the 70s. So once I'm on a cruise ship, I'm doing a show. Guy comes up to me afterwards. He says, "I want you to know how important your song was to me." And I'm thinking, oh, his name's probably Michael, and when he was a kid, people whatever. And he goes, I had a cancer, and they decided to do experimental treatments on me. And he said it was very, very hard. And the nurse that I had would walk in every morning, and there was a music box of your song. And she would put it by my bedside and turn it, and I would wake up to ding, 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 ding. She said it got me up every day. And I went, how in the world would I ever know that?
Yes.
How in the world would I know that little song that I recorded in the studio with a bunch of kids would affect somebody's life and death in a certain way? So the why, there's so many whys out there that we'll never know. It just happened to be this guy was on a ship and came and told me that story. But if he had a story like that, so that applies to all of us who do this. We just don't know. Yeah. So you got to do it. You got to give it, because.
How did you two feel? How did you feel when you, and I know you probably did this, did you two drive down the strip when they closed it down and looked at each other and say, what the heck?
Ghost town.
It was creepy. It was like...
we actually only did it once. Because that was enough. That was enough.
We were creeped out. We were like...
What part of the strip did you start at, and where did you end?
We started up on the
south end?
No, probably up by the time, up by
the
Stratosphere. And drove down that way.
There was a lot of construction.
And there was construction. There were cops. There were police. So people couldn't go in. It was like
the end of the world feeling.
Like one of those movies you watch where everything blows up and it was like. I swear to you, once was enough. If I drove up that fast, I can't. Oh man,
No, because this is life. It's so alive, our city, and of course, again, everywhere. But here, it was quite startling to have the lights go out. Basically, nothing happened.
24-hour town that you just never think of that.
What we love most about it is it's alive, and energy.
But what's interesting? Entertainers found their way. Some people Kelly started doing a podcast, basically.
Yeah, we did a Zoom show called Coffee Time, my best friend and I. And she's in New Orleans and I'm here. And I ended up getting back in touch with some of the things I'm sure everyone did at home. Suddenly it's like you're a kid again. You're like, I guess I'll clean my closet or I'll go through oh, I think I used to draw. Anyway, so in this show, we were there was content about making people feel good and being there for each other. The premise was she and I, when we get on the phone, having coffee, inspiration. So she did a lot of these stories and I would do a character guest star. And we did it 3 times a week. So, you start running out of stuff. So then you have a broom on your head, and you're like, I'm this character. I did the Amazon person. I did all the things that were happening. We were just trying to make people feel hopeful and
but it was also an outlet for your creativity. and so many artists did that. You know,
Yeah, you recorded at home.
I wrote.
Wrote.
I wrote. That was my thing. I said, okay, I am now, because I've always been a writer, but now that's my business. That's what I do. So I get up every morning and I would write all day, right? But like Frankie Shinta had a home show. A friend of ours in New York, Billy Stritch, did every Thursday, whatever it was,
Taking
Billy's place,
requests
and taking requests, so yeah, we were just kind of okay. We got to do this somehow. We can't lose touch with who we are and what we do. And then there were those entertainers who left, who said
A lot of people moved
a
away.
lot of people moved away, from here, because we didn't know when it would come back, And well, my father has a business in Missouri. Got to do that, which was really tough, right?
Speaking of writing, you mentioned your granddaughter saying this about Billie Eilish, and look at what they're. Do you look at writing as a way of communicating that transcends baby boomers, millennials?
Yeah.
That type of writing lasts through generations.
Absolutely.
Can you think of a song written that comes? And this is a tough question.
Yeah.
Can you think of a song? I want you to think of a song you think that transcends generations. That you can think of off the top of your head that touches even the young kids now.
I think it's so
Roberta
funny.
Flack. I know.
That's a tough one. That's a tough
But
one.
we're in. Right now, I'm creating.
I'm creating a show of the music of Roberta Flack and Al Jarreau, right? So I'm so deep
Al
into
Jarreau
So
and
and
Roberta.
Roberta,
Oh my
yeah.
God, I gotta see that.
because I knew Roberta early on in both of our careers, and so
that's a tough one, but you've been listening to some of those.
right now
songs that are
that's
your shows,
ringing in my head. I mean,
That's
there's
a fair question.
yeah. I mean, there's so many songs, but sometimes you
That can touch the young kids, like you said that gentleman
Phineas?
said.
Yeah.
I heard that, but he had no idea it was some young kid that wrote that.
Right, and he never would have listened. I mean,
Never would've
I'm
listened to
guessing,
that.
but
Well, no.
never would have sat down and said, "Well, I wonder what Billie Eilish's brother's writing." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
She's
the only
good.
reason I did it is because my granddaughter told me
Right.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there are so many songs. What I really love to do is to investigate the writers. When I did a show recently about Peter Allen, because I knew Peter and he was a great entertainer and a great writer, underappreciated and underremembered. But until you go, well, he wrote "When You Get Caught Between the Moon and New York," and he wrote all these songs, and you go, oh, yeah. And the same with Roberta and Al to an extent. You know a couple of them, but I didn't know, for instance, and did you say you watched the?
I just watched it.
Yeah,
before we came here.
that Roberta was on the forefront of the civil rights movement. I somehow I missed that, right? That she was in league with Angela Davis and Jesse Jackson, and would do the bus tours with Jesse Jackson and sing it. That we remember "Killing Me Softly." We remember those great songs. But the "Trying Times" is a song that she was a protest song.
Had you ever heard that song?
I'd heard "Trying Times," yes, but it wasn't one of that rang in my mind when I said, "Let me put the show together." You think of the first time ever I saw your face.
Yes.
Think of "Killing Me Softly," right? The duets she did with Donny Hathaway. I think about those. But she was also one of the first to record a song about the AIDS pandemic back then. Song called "All the Sad Young Men." Just killer song.
Entertainers have that type of platform all the way back to Lady Day. Strange Fruit.
Hello, yeah.
Strange Fruit.
Yeah.
When they would ban her from singing that song
Yeah.
in
She
certain
was,
places.
I think, arrested a few times for doing
I
for
think
singing.
you're right.
Yeah.
So these songs, the writing and you being a writer, it transcends. It communicates. It depends on how it's delivered.
Sure.
Whether the kids say, if you would have said, I want you to hear this song and just showed him the first version of what you sang, it probably wouldn't have connected. So it's the delivery of someone that's wise enough to transcend that generation, man.
Yeah, and it's the universality of the statement. I wrote a song called "If
Oh, I
Not."
like that.
I wrote a song called "If Not Now When." I wrote it after I had cancer, and you know, and I was also going through some huge changes in my life. And Brittany will tell you that my daughter will tell you the story. So I had the cancer, I had the surgery, I was in recovery. I walked down to my piano and I sat down and I just was like, I just wanted to play
That was
piano.
one of those magic.
And this phrase, if not now, when, which to me at that time meant if you're not gonna live forever, right? And if you're not gonna do the things that you want to do, what are you waiting for, right? So this literally, I always say 20 minutes. It might have been longer than that, but basically, when I was the lyric that I came up with right away was when I was younger. I didn't have the hunger I have now. I'm older, but I'm stronger, and I'm not going to say someday, somehow, because I'm running out of time, running through my prime, running past where I've been. Every choice I make is a chance I take, but if not now, when?
Man, pass me some Kleenex.
Yeah, right. So I wrote that
I'm
song.
serious.
Yeah, and I do it in my show often, and inevitably people will go, "Oh, that's where I was at. That's where I'm at right now, trying to make decisions in my life." And you go, "Well, I wrote about my life, but it doesn't really mean anything unless the audience connects to it on some level." So that's not that I'm saying that that's what we're talking about, a standard song forever, but in terms of connection. Yeah, people connect to that idea.
But because of who you are and what you mean to me, I wanted to try to hear what you would think. The song that really gets to me is "What a Wonderful World."
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
That gets to me, man.
Well,
That just, and I was just waiting for you to say something similar to that. But it's you being an artist, you got so many songs in your head. But as a listener, when whether it's cancer, or whether it's
that's part of it.
yeah.
There's the song that when you ask that question, and I start thinking is a song for you. I've been so many places in my life.
Oh, I love this.
That was our wedding song because that's our life. Now I'm singing my song. I've sung for thousands of people, but now I'm
That
singing
is
for you.
amazing. See, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
That sums it up, doesn't it?
And
kinda-
my favorite song it's been my favorite song since I'm 15 years old is Gladys Knight and the Pips. You're the best thing that ever
Oh
happened.
my.
Oh yeah.
Because that's the same thing. It's like
That's
saying
so
I've had
beautiful.
my share of ups and downs.
Oh.
And fate's been kind to me. The downs have been few. I guess you could say I've been lucky. I guess you could say it's all because of you.
You know what helped us is we have a dog, right? This little thing.
It's little sweet.
Became such an important part of our family during that, because that was the other person in the family.
Yeah.
If we got irritated at each other, the dog be like,
You're like,
what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, and you have to laugh, and you go, okay, all
You
right,
go,
right.
oh, I think we just scared JoJo.
Or if you're upset, it's like, come on, sit with me, and I'll talk to the dog. I mean, it's amazing that.
Or the sick.
Oh
Or
God, yeah, when she was sick.
And also you had knee surgery. Our baby, no, when I was sick, that girl would never leave my side, and she's in love with Clint. Like, Daddy, and he'd go, "Come on, let's go," and she'd just look like, "I'm on
I'd have to
duty."
pick her up and take her outside because she said, "No, I need to be here." So
They know.
that entity became. I know it's people talking about their
Anyways.
dogs all the time, but and that's true for not just for us.
It's our daughter.
It's our daughter. It's a part of our family. She gives you that thing. So that helped us during the pandemic.
We
having
also
our
have the thing where we know you need some space right now, or I need, we have our other room.
Yeah.
And Clint would go and write. I would go and do the crazy character thing, try to paint and all these things for the show we were doing. We did well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's the secret, right?
Yes.
You have to be best friends. You have to
Yeah.
be friends.
And you realize that
Yeah.
that I'm difficult to live with. She puts up with a lot. You understand that. You understand who each other is, and you accept that. And it's never, oh no,
It's not a bad
I'm not
thing.
taking this. It's hey, you can get it. You can get mad, and you just, instead of arguing about it, you just don't talk. And a little while later, a few hours later, what were we mad about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
Yeah,
Can't remember.
Yeah.
Back to our town, right? Just because we're talking about this, I have two cities. I have New York and here, right? New York is a certain kind of energy that is just irreplaceable. And I used to say, when I go to New York and I walk down the street, I am that energy. My body feels like
Yes.
Yeah, right. And
Pulse.
it took me a while to have that same feeling about this city. It's a different feeling. It's a different feeling because we don't walk down the strip every day. In New York, if you're you're walking down Fifth Avenue, you're walking down Broadway. You're that's where you are. And so you're always in that energy. This is a different thing. Where we live, and I'm sure where you guys live, you're not on the strip.
Right.
You go there to see a show, to have a dinner, to friends. But because we've been there so much, because we have a when you do hit the strip, it has that same woof.
Yes.
There's no place like this.
It was like 2 nights ago. We were going somewhere. I go, there's a lot of people walking. I go, this is what we talk about in New York. I go, it's happening here too. We just won't. We're not going to be the
It's
people
remote.
walking now.
It's there. You know it's
But
there
for
though.
them,
Yeah, you know it's there.
it's there. They're
Yeah.
coming here and saying, "Wow, the energy, the excitement of Las Vegas." you
And
know.
we live here, so it's like people who live in New York. You go, oh wow, you got the Statue of Liberty, and they go, yeah, I took my uncle there, 15 years ago, right? They don't go Statue of Liberty, but it's there. It's a part of the culture of the city. Ours is this magical place that people come once a year, twice a year, 5 times a year, or once in their life to experience something that they have never experienced before, and we have to appreciate that about our city. That opportunity is there. I fly in and out of the city, and it's always interesting to be flying in because there's people who are so excited about coming here, and you can feel it. And they got their Las Vegas T-shirt, and you hear people say, "Well, you get off the plane, they have slot machines in the airport, right?" And it's like this is unlike any.
You never interrupt that type of conversation and say, no, they don't.
Yeah, no, I don't.
We're like,
Once in a while, if it's like a conversation about, well, what are you going to do? I don't know. I'll go, well, what do you like? And I'll say, well, there's a couple of great restaurants, or this is a show that you might want to see. But generally, I just enjoy hearing that I was on a flight and there were like, I want to say 6 guys coming out for a bachelor party or something, right? And it was New York, and one of them was kind of like, oh yeah, well, they say, what you do here, doesn't you care, doesn't go, and the other ones are like, so we're getting closer, and it's a long flight, right? And so, this guy's go, oh, this is desert, there's nothing. He's looking out the window of the plane, and his buddies go, oh, wait till we get closer, you'll see there's like this. And I'm thinking, what an idiot. I'm going, he's just like, ooh, and then we'd get in, and he said, there, they go, oh, wow, there's nothing around it. And I go, well, this is the beauty of this place. There's nothing like it. Yeah. This is an oasis of excitement and opportunity,
It's kind of hard to help Donnie the Downer.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like, and all his
can't
buddies
help
were all excited. I think he was the only one maybe who'd never been here before, and he was like this, Donnie Downer.
Yeah.
Donnie Downer.
And Debbie
Met
Downer.
him.
And Debbie
I
Downer.
met them both.
Don't let them marry now.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
And it's once in a while, I wish I could follow them around. I wish I could, follow them to check in at the whatever hotel they're staying at, and their eyes when they see this, It's great. I mean, this city is fantastic. Where we live, it's fantastic.
We have gone from, and I'm pretty sure you witnessed this nuance of the gambling capital of the world to the gaming. When we started proliferating throughout the United States, they had to change the word to gaming to entertainment capital of the world.
Right.
And now sports and entertainment. What do you two think about the sports that's coming
That came
here?
up last night.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm a sports fan, so I'm thrilled. I mean, it's yes. So when I came in 2000, right, it was the shows. And they used to talk about, well, people come in for 3 nights. So one of those nights, they're going to kind of want to walk around. And then one of those nights, they're going to want to see a show. Maybe one of them, they're going to want to see O. And then the other. So you're kind of in competition. So then comes the clubs and the DJs. So now, the younger people, they're going to come in and they're gonna do the bottle thing. They're going to go to the club and try to pick up a girl or pick up a guy, and you'd see these lines, going in. So that was in competition with the shows, right? Then somewhere in the mix of that, every great chef in the world
Oh.
opens a restaurant here. So now, well, yeah, one of the nights they're going to go to Spago by any other name, and one of the nights they're going to go to a club, and then maybe they're going to see a show. And then it became, well, if Silk Sonic was here, or if Lady Gaga was here, they come to the city, and the centerpiece of their trip is they're going to see Lady Gaga, they're going to see Bruno Mars, they're going to see, you know, whatever it is. So those huge shows became, so now the competition for that person who comes for 3 days, you know, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, is even steeper, you know. So going back to the idea of the smaller rooms where there was, you could depend on there being a band, and so on and so forth, that's what we lose, because you can't compete, right? Whereas when I came here, and I talked about this at the event that we're at, the hotel, Harris in that case, said, okay, we like this show. We believe our people are going to like this show. And so we're going to expect that X amount of weeks or months are going to go by, and we're going to have to kind of bite that bullet. But we believe, right? It doesn't happen anymore. So they put my name on billboards, they put my name on cab tops, and they would literally come in some nights when in this 550 seat room, there would be 80 people, and they would come in and go, don't worry about it. You're doing what we signed you to do. And so a few months go by, and all of a sudden, like, oh, there's 350 people. They're sold out. But it was because they believed putting their money into this. Now you can't, as an entertainer, you can't do that. You're we call it, you know, four wall.
Short-lived a lot.
I say to friends in New York who say, yeah, I'd love to go out to Vegas. I go, well, come on out. If you have somebody who wants to put $1 million into your show, you could probably get a showroom. Said, and when that $1 million runs out, you're not gonna have a showroom, because the hotels don't support the shows the way they used to.
Right.
You know,
Corporate mentality.
You know, Steve Wynn. I don't know if Steve Wynn was actually the first person to bring me here. I was living in New Jersey. He calls up and he says, I have a room that I built for Sammy, Sinatra, Belafonte, Steve and Edie. They're either gone or not performing anymore. I'm either going to close this room up or make it work. And I think you'd be the guy to do that. So I will offer you 9 months. If I close the show in a week, I will pay you for 9 months.
Wow.
So I canceled. That was November of 1998. I remember because that's when my dad was dying at the time. So this was going on, right? So it was November. So we opened. I canceled everything I had for the year 1999, and my family was still in New Jersey, and the kids were in school. So I said, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to last. I came out here. Steve Wynn put everything into me. I was the face of the place, and he said, I'll make the promise, you deliver. That was the deal, right? So the show lasted from February to August, but by that time I had interest from other hotels. Point being that I would have never had that opportunity now.
Right.
I wouldn't have had that opportunity.
No.
Yeah.
All I had to do was go out every night and do a show. Steve Wynn and then Harris said, we'll make the investment, you do the show.
Speaking of the name of this show, Las Vegas Hospitality Evolution.
Mm-hmm. That's part of the evolution.
You're not gonna have the Steve Wynns anymore.
Right.
I hate to say anymore, but it looks like the corporate mentality has changed Vegas. But the millennials, strange that it may seem, they want vintage Vegas.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing
They
some of
want
this, because
these
if
kids.
they see it, they get it. It's not old, young. It's entertainment.
Yes.
It's like you talked about in one. It's entertainment. So
Or like
it's
mom and dad
Yeah.
would say about the orchestra and what they saw when Sinatra.
Yeah.
Something, you blew me away with what you said earlier, but I do remember this. That those comedians had their own orchestras.
Yeah.
I forgot about
They're
that.
entertainers. They did singing,
So-
dancing,
so
acting.
That was entertainment on steroids, man.
So saying what you just said, which is, and what you said too, is that the millennials want that.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they get it? Where are they going to get it? So, okay, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say some, like when we went and saw Lady Gaga, even though these are big shows, you have to spend so
That's a
much
good
to
point.
be able
Yes,
to go.
good point.
But that's what she did. She took us and Bublé as well. They took
I
us
think
to,
that's what Usher does too.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
They are
grew up
great
seeing
in
some
one.
of the-
In one.
Yeah, they're putting on a show for you. They're doing that, and Barry Manilow is still doing his thing and wowing people. People who didn't expect to love Barry's show now, they walk out of there bigger fans than they were when they went in, and they didn't.
So
expect
there,
it
those
to be
shows do exist.
that. They dance, they sing, they
But the
tell.
ones-
Lionel
Don't
Richie,
exist.
you know, is
Lionel
an
Richie's
entertainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a lot of hit records,
Yeah.
but he doesn't just come out and rely on that. He comes
He's
out and
an
entertains.
entertainer.
He works.
Yeah.
This resurgence of young minds that recall what their parents said about Vegas and,
Uh-huh.
and they want to experience that, they may have to go to venues that
smaller
the
venues
Sterling
that-
clubs and stuff.
Yes.
If you want to really experience that, there could be a strong opportunity for that
To
type
create that
to
kind of.
Create it and bring the draw.
to create that.
So if you think about the people we mentioned, like Bublé and Lionel and Gaga, right? So we are fortunate when we go to those shows, we're sitting pretty close to the front. So we're getting that. But then you look behind you, and there's 6,000 people in that
Yeah.
room.
I mean,
And-
they've
and-
got the video.
and they're
screens
watching a
everything.
video
They're
screen.
really
Yes.
watching that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's not the same experience.
No.
No, what you're talking
You know,
about.
and so, but then you go, well, Lady Gaga's not going to come in here for the money she makes and play a 500 seat room. Can't do
afford
it,
it.
right?
Doesn't come.
Can't. So how much would I love to see her and Lionel and those people
Like
in
we
a
saw.
550 seat room, right? It'd be great.
Like we saw you, like we saw Sammy and
Right, yeah.
Dean and
Yeah,
Frank.
right?
And
It doesn't economically make sense.
Not anymore.
So that's a tough one. You know, Donny Osmond, he's playing in the room that I played in, you know.
he's doing that.
And he's
kind of
doing
show.
he's doing his in one show, you know. That's what I love to call it, in one person comes out with an orchestra, you know. Does not, they have dancers maybe, but that's not what the show's about.
Right.
The show's about that artist giving you an evening with them, and you walk out going, I feel like I know him a little bit. I feel like I had a unique experience. That
That's
was the
still-
genius of
yes.
Sinatra and Sammy and Nat King Cole and all the Lena Horne. That was the genius of those people. You
Yeah.
walked out feeling like you knew them.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think the young people do get it when they see it.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
the
they just
Gaga
they,
shows. And
they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, they don't.
know
Right.
what they don't
You
know.
don't know.
We interviewed Lorraine Hunt on this show.
Yeah.
And she talked about going to shows like that when she was a little girl
Mhm.
and how it impacted her seeing Sinatra and looking from
The shoes,
head to
right,
toe, from
that's
toe to
right.
head, and was mesmerized as a little young
Yeah.
as a girl, and how beautiful it is. Fast forward, she's doing that at her place.
right.
Uh-huh.
She's doing that at
The
her
Copa,
place.
the Copa showroom they have over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did my open mic there for 20 years, by the way, in the restaurant. And we always would say, there's something in the walls here because it came from entertainers. She was a
Yes.
performer then. And so all the pictures on the wall are people who visited her restaurant
Mm-hmm.
at a different location and then they moved it. And there was magic. We don't know why the food is great and all of that, but everyone would drive all the way down the strip. It's not that far now, but they'd say, why is it so popular? Because there's a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
There's a vibe. in the wall.
spirit.
They understood
Spirit,
it.
a vibe.
And they put the food and the drink and performers that connect. And it was magic. Now they expanded to that other room. And that room is really cool too. Santa Fe and the Fat City Horns
Mm-hmm.
are there every Monday. That's a good room.
We also interviewed her husband, Dennis Bono.
Yep. Yeah.
And same thing.
What you say about what it strikes me about her going to see and just
From
the
his
shoes and
Yeah.
Belafonte. What we were talking about that in he said, I was talking about the opening number about some shows, and he said the opening number is about the audience checking you out. That's what the opening number is.
Funny you
That's
said
true.
that.
Yeah.
That's true.
We went to see Diana Ross,
Yeah.
and you do look,
Huh?
but we do it differently. Beautiful gown, and she had house slippers on it. And whoever dressed her did. I told Tina, I said, they had to look at how it fell. It wasn't falling far enough, and she was wearing house shoes. And it's just like, oh,
And you know
yeah.
she's wearing them because survival.
Yes.
You know, you
Yeah.
got to do what you got to do to be
yeah,
able to.
but put
but
the gown
you're right.
down there.
Put
so
the
you can
gowns
see
out
it.
there, or design some house shoes that look a little bit elegant.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah,
The money isn't the object, right?
Is she watching right now?
yeah.
Oh, that was
Cut this part out.
no, that was funny last night when Bubba was talking about Goldie Hawn, about
Yes.
opening for Goldie Hawn, right? And you went on and on about Goldie Hawn, and then she says, Goldie Hawn is here. She has a question.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's
Yeah.
the comedy.
Yeah.
Bubba
That's the
said
comedy.
you did not do that. You weren't even going to take my question. He blew me off.
Well, only because there were
So
other
lady
people.
behind her, I go, no, I couldn't say, but this is funny right now.
Yeah, and it won't be funny after another question.
So I was pushing.
Timing.
Yeah, timing, yeah.
Timing.
Yeah, and our friend Dennis Blair, who's a comedian, was there last night, and we had a dinner afterwards with him, and he said, I was like, I was going to say, Goldie Hawn has a question.
It
He
was
said, but she
lingering in
was,
the air.
Yeah.
The joke was lingering in the air.
That's the beauty of you guys working together, and you can play off of each other. And there are moments that you can get in there and make it light or whatever. It's
I love the chemistry.
yeah.
I love the chemistry. Well, I keep going back to
The Christmas
the
show.
Christmas show. I just keep going back to that.
Buy your tickets.
When you two, I am. If we always do, and we always try to be up front.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you were to say the future of Vegas,
Huh.
and okay, the future of Vegas
Yeah.
with entertainment, that type of entertainment that we've all grown up with, that we love, that makes us cry, that makes us happy. Where do you see the next generation doing that? Have you seen an artist that maybe can do that?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Are you talking about a non-famous artist? Or
No, I just want to hear from Clint Holmes, an artist that can make us feel good again,
oh yeah.
or what we've been used to growing up in Vegas.
Yes. When we saw Gaga's show, it to me, and I think to her too, is like up there top 10 shows I've ever seen.
It was what you're talking about.
It
You
was.
know what- you
The
know what
problem with it is
Okay.
there's 6,000 people in the room.
Yeah.
So those people aren't having that experience. Those of us who are in the first 15, 20, 25 rows.
Yeah.
So it can't be quite what it was when we could sit in a room of 600 people and see Sinatra or Sammy or Nat King Cole sit at the piano
And see him breathe.
and play and see it breathe.
Yeah.
But is it interesting and fun and moving and absolutely a Bublé show?
He was charming.
charming, and it's kind of a
But
throwback,
think about those two artists that you talked about.
right?
They come from the cloth
Yeah.
Absolutely.
of those great entertainers.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, they do.
And,
Sure.
and when you look at Lady Gaga, look at her background. Speaking of background, your background,
Okay, I'm going to speak to that for one
the
second.
background. Go
About
ahead.
Gaga.
Yes.
Did you see her show?
No, I haven't.
have you seen
My
it?
wife
Okay.
has.
Here's-
the jazz show.
The jazz piano show. So here's what she does, which really, I mean, she's a lot of fun and she sings great, all that stuff. But here's what she does. When she goes to do a costume change, there's no dancers, there's no blah, blah, blah. There's a screen comes up, black and white video of her talking about the great jazz artists. She talks about, when I was a little girl, my dad would play Dinah Washington.
See?
I didn't get it.
Had an
Blah, 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 blah. But then I would listen to Dinah Washington and I would say, oh, I wonder if I could ever sing like that. Blah, 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 blah. And she'd do that for there'd be 7 minutes or something,
And
right?
you were
Boom, she'd come back out and do another section of her show, go away. And then I heard Ella Fitzgerald. And then So in her show, there's 3 moments where, and I said to Kelly, I said, you know what she's doing? She's educating these people who came to see her in her meat dress and all that to say, no. Here's the evolution
Yes.
of me. And now I get it. I get what my dad was showing me. I get those artists. So that's what put that show over the top for me. She was great. all of it was great. But that
She
made
had
me
it
go,
all in there,
okay,
all of it.
she's educating. She's about something, you know,
And still unique.
and unique and of herself.
Our own.
And so yeah, I love that show. It was quite
So it transcends from
Oh, yeah.
ages.
yeah.
Whether you're a baby boomer or whether you're a millennial or Generation X, Y, we can't say Z, they're too young. But
Is there a Z?
yeah,
Yes,
there's
Z's
a Z.
What
was just
comes
like-
next?
He's got a couple of Z's at home.
What comes next?
Was there?
I don't
They got to
know.
go back to the.
I guess we've
Generation
got to
A.
start over. You're right.
You know, in a different way, when we would take road trips when our kids were little, you know, I would be playing Stevie Wonder, I'd be playing James Taylor, I'd be playing these people, and they were always like, "Do we have to listen to that?" You know, they were like always like that, and stuff. I go, "Yes, you do have to listen to it because we're going to be driving for 3 hours, and I'm driving, right?" You know. So about 6-7 years ago,
Yeah.
James Taylor came to town, and we went with my daughter, right?
Yep.
And so this music starts, and we look at each other and we both start crying, and she says, "Daddy, I get it. This is what
Yes.
you brought me up listening to, and now
She appreciates.
I'm 35 years old, and I get it." And you go, "Thank
Yeah.
God." So you're already they're doing that. They're gonna appreciate the music that they maybe not, but now they're already your kids are already appreciating. I remember mine were like, "We have to listen to Stevie Wonder. We have to listen to right."
Harold, we're gonna have to
Now
do
they get
this
it.
again. This
Yeah.
is a part one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do a part two because I think this is just my humble opinion. The things that we've talked about, when we go back and look at this, and we're going to send you, it's so many gems out of this conversation.
Well, it's fun. I mean,
yeah,
it's fun, and talking to you guys
Yeah.
because you have knowledge
Yes.
and you have
History.
history, but you also are curious.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
We are curious.
Yeah. You,
And our
I have
audience
so many
is.
stories. Years ago, I had a talk show in New York, and WOR, and they brought me in from LA to do this talk show, like a Johnny Carson show, and they had a coach work with me, and the coach said, "What do you think is the secret to being a good talk show host?" I'm like, "You got to be funny. You got to be this." And she goes, "Got to be curious.
Ah.
You got to be curious." He said, "And you have to understand that your guest is the star of the show."
Mm-hmm.
And that was such a. Then I started watching talk show hosts, and you see the ones who would always want to be funnier than the guest, you know, and then the other ones who would say, "So tell me," and would sit back and laugh
And listen.
and be a part of the audience.
Right.
And if it started to lull, then they would jump in, right? So yeah, so that's the fun of it. I asked this question last night. And I got an answer from a lot of people, but are we have the Aces, we have the Raiders, we have, the Knights, we have, are those people in serving the community?
Right.
Are they? I don't know the answer. A bunch of people said yes, so maybe I just don't know it, right? But I remember when I came here and how we would all, Earl and me and we would go to the charities. Lance Burton, they used to call Lance Burton and say, "Would you come up?" And he'd say, "Is Clint doing it?" Right? Did they go, "Yeah, he's doing it." Okay, I'll be there. Same thing. I don't know if the athletes are doing that or not.
If they're not, they're going to learn to do it.
Yeah.
Because that's what this town is all about.
Exactly.
Whether they know it or not.
People don't appreciate what athletes, how hard they, to have a career like I keep thinking LeBron, but any of them have. They don't just get up in the morning and say, "Let's go play basketball." They work off season, on season. They train. They go through the pain. They go through the thing, and that needs to be respected.
I want to ask you this question, and then we're going to go to a part two.
Oh,
I want to ask you this question. Not now.
Not that. Okay.
Not now. Not now. Did you see Kelly? Did you see Kelly? Oh. Have you ever been sick or injured, and you have a big show that you
Of course.
want to do, not have to do? You want to do it, but you're sick and injured. What gets you? How do you navigate that?
Well, it's different if you've lost your voice, which has happened to me several times. But the overcoming ailments, migraine,
Yeah.
other things that for 35 years, it's part of a healing thing. Like sometimes it's for the audience where they felt something they haven't felt and they're hearing the music. Well, for me personally, when I get up there, somehow everything moves over here. I mean, there are times where it can't because laryngitis, you can't make it come out where it is, and that makes it pretty impossible for you to. Although I did Harpo Marx character in Hong Kong, but you can't do that for an hour and a half. But but I do find the stage a magical place where you said, I didn't think I could do this tonight at all, and something just happens. It's endorphins and all that kind of stuff, and. So yeah, it's been sometimes a heartbreak when you can't do it, but if there's any way to get through it, we do.
Yeah,
Most entertainers.
the adrenaline, really kicks in.
Yeah.
But the other thing that, in relation to what you said, I have a great teacher. We have a great teacher named Larry Moss. He's an acting coach teacher, and he always says, "Take it with you. Take your day with you." I was in New York. My mom died. My mom was very sick, so it wasn't like a surprise, right? But I was in New York, and I was getting ready to do a show at the Carlisle. And phone rings and blah, blah, blah. I hear her go, oh, yeah, sure, okay, yeah, I'll talk to you later. And I said, Mom died, because she was and once she was reacting to it and going, oh, he's going on stage in an hour. I shouldn't tell him yet, right? But I knew it.
It was a big show, and I thought, how?
It was an important show, and so my acting coach said, take it with you, take whatever that feels like, take it out there, because that audience won't know what's going on, but they'll have a different experience because you'll have a different experience. So I think, obviously, if you talk about being sick, being physically sick, I've done shows that I shouldn't have done. We've all done shows that we shouldn't have done if we really think about it, right? But we go out to Earl. We all have done that, right? But when it's a psychological thing where, it's, how am I going to get through this? Larry said, take it with you. Take it with you. And actors on Broadway, they take it with them. That's why they can do 8 shows a week and make it different every night, because they can't read a different script every night. So, but they take what is really going on in their lives and put it into that script. And I do that. We do that with the songs we're singing. I might sing the same song I sang last night, but I'm thinking about my mom passing, and it's a different emotion. So anyway, physically we're stupid enough to go out there when we shouldn't. Sometimes pay the price.
The tickets are bought. Everybody's dressed in
Sammy, give them what you got. Give them the best you got that night.
And like you brought something up earlier where the audience was in on something, like something that happens, things that go wrong are some of my favorite parts. Even though I was always terrified of it, when something goes wrong, it's kind of a chance to react. And we as an audience.
He was talking about Sammy not making the note. That's right. Yeah.
That's right. You feel like you're in on something with the performer or the band, and what are they going to do now? The electricity just went off, and
that happened at Harris.
Happened to Clint.
Everything went off. Sound system went off. Lights went off.
Not coming back.
And they were you wait and you think, okay, it'll be back, and then we were told no, it's a system, blah 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 blah. So I said to the band, okay, everybody go home, and I kept the piano player, and I went down in the audience, and I sang without my, so, you get through it, and that audience went home and went, oh my God, you know what happened, right?
And you sang.
And the next day I got a megaphone. Siegfried and Roy sent me a megaphone, they heard about it. Which I still have. So we do that crap, we do that stuff.
People are really with you and feel for anything like that if it's obvious. Otherwise, you don't talk about it, right? You'll say, don't tell them you're having trouble. I'll do that. I'll go, sorry for and then you sing and you think it's terrible, but it's coming out enough where they weren't really sure you were, So you just kind of say, sorry, I'm having a little trouble, but I'm here, and let's go.
It's adapting.
The audience wants to be with you.
Yes.
They want to be with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So they, didn't quite make that note. Okay, we get it. Yeah. Right.
Or look what he or she did right there to go around that.
Well, no, that's a
we
as performers.
Watch someone will go, oh, they just
there it is. They didn't take it, but they did that. That's okay. That's a
great approach any day.
Yeah.
Not just today. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Wow.
Okay, so,
Well, I want to speak to our audience, and first of all, we want to thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
We want to thank both of you.
Pleasure.
For being here. We really hit the jackpot. Didn't we? We got, but we didn't get enough.
No,
we got to do a part 2 now. We got to come back.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But we want to thank you. I know our audience, domestically and internationally, love what they heard here. This is edutainment. We're educating and entertaining. And when you see how we finish this, both of you, you'll see yourself interfaced in performances so our guests can see
Oh, great.
what we've seen
Yes.
for many years and enjoyed. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking out your time and just to come and be with us and to educate people and to also just give of your heart. This is what you're doing is philanthropy.
Yes.
Don't you think so? It's not an interview. This is you're giving. You're giving to us. You almost made me cry on that song.
Yes.
I was serious about that. The handkerchief. The bigger guys cry quicker. I'm telling you, the big guys cry. Yeah, they don't think the big guy. You know, I'm gonna say this, and then we. You know, somebody told me. Something to being big and pushing your weight around, or I said I've never been a bully, and they said, well, you know you big enough to try to force. I said, now if Mr. Holmes, if Clint Holmes was to beat me with a bat and beat me down, he could say, well, look how big he was. So you never push your weight around. Look how big this guy was.
It was
So
nothing.
right.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't push your weight around.
Yeah.
But we as big guys, a lot of big guys cry quick. Especially when they touch our hearts. That song I said about the wonderful world. That's my favorite.
Yes.
One of my favorite songs.
Yep.
Did you ever hear Sweet Louie sing that?
Sweet Louie.
Sweet Louie.
Oh my God.
That's,
No, I haven't heard
he
him.
came to our wedding.
Oh my God.
They sang it at our not the wedding, but the reception. And it was late. He got there late, and most people had left. And he said, "But I gotta sing this." And he went up there. I see trees of ground. I was like, "Oh, thank you,
Sweet
thank you."
Louie. Sweet Louie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Touch the nerve there. Sweet Louie.
Yep.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you again.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much. Having you this time.
For our first
We'll
episode.
give you a little break.
We'll give you a little break.
You have to think up stuff because I think I've talked about everything I know.
No, this is
Tell my
our
kids.
conversation is organic.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
It's just
absolutely.
we don't come. We may start with a question, but everything else is organic.
And that's why it's fun, and that's why it
Yeah.
flies by.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yes,
Yeah.
it
It's
does.
a conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I look forward to doing it again.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.